Self-help books can be very helpful, but they can also cause pain and suffering. In this video, I share with you why I stopped reading self-help books and what I did instead to keep on growing personally and professionally. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about how to turn your passion into a profitable business. I got introduced to my very first self-help book back in 2007. It was a gift by a friend of mine, and that book was The Secret. So The Secret was the very first self-help book that I've read, and when I read it, I felt very connected to it because there were so many concepts in the book that I found very familiar, and I was already doing them without even knowing what they're called, like visualization or the law of attraction. So I thought back then these concepts were super helpful. And after The Secret, it kept going on. The next book was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then the 4-Hour Work Week, and then the 7 Habits of the Highly Successful People. And it just kept on going and going until about 3 years ago when I realized I needed to stop this. Like the self-help industry is all about you have the power to change your life. You can do anything that you want. You can be anyone that you want. So these books are designed to give you the feeling of power over your life. And power is very addictive. The more books you read, the more you want to read to actually fix your life. Because you feel like there is a book for every single problem. So I might as well read all the books to fix all the problems that I have in my life. And as you may already notice, self-help books and the self-help industry in general never stops. There are always like new ideas to try, new concepts, new tips, new advice. So it's just like it never stops. Actually, the self-help book industry is estimated at $13.2 billion by this year, 2022. It's a money-making machine and we just need to be aware of it. So here are a few problems that I found in the self-help books industry that I would like to share with you, and hopefully it will help you as well have a better awareness of whether you want to continue consuming them because it's a choice or whether you should actually stop. So the first one for me was that I was missing out on life. I was always focused on what's missing in my life and on the flaws rather than celebrating what I already had. It was always about fixing that one thing, then I could be happy. So I've become sort of attached to like fixing myself, fixing things that are not working within me. So that actually prevented me from enjoying my life, enjoying my family, being much better with time, more at ease with my energy. Like every single hour, I was just trying to work, because to me, that was the thing that I needed to do to reach my goals. And I wasn't really spending enough time with my family or enjoying time with them or appreciating even like my travels and my holidays. For me, it was like some kind of like guilty pleasures going on a trip or traveling because I felt I didn't deserve those. The second one was that I was attaching my self-worth to my growth. So in other words, when I was growing, meaning making progress, achieving my goals, I would have a nice self-worth and feeling happy about myself. But then when I wasn't achieving those goals, I would beat myself up. And I was actually sabotaging myself because I wasn't succeeding in the goals that I set myself to. So it's always about that feeling that you're not enough. You're not enough until you achieve that XYZ goal. Which leads me to my next point, is that when you fix your goals and you read those books and you do everything that needs to be done and you don't achieve your goals, you're very frustrated and disappointed of yourself. Because you read all these mantras like you're powerful, you can achieve anything, you can be anything, you can be anyone. And you're like, hey, I have this formula, this ready-made formula, I'm applying it and it's still not working. So that creates a lot of frustration because you're not understanding why it's not working out for you. I mean, don't get me wrong, having goals is super important in life. You need to have goals, right? But the problem is that we get too attached to those goals. And these goals may not even be yours. You know, like the goals we set ourselves to, they're goals that we borrow from other people because we've seen other people achieve them. And we're like, hey, I want to have that. Your neighbor has the latest iPhone. You want to have it as well. Your cousin has just got a new car. You want to buy a new car as well. Your friend just did like a world tour on a boat. You want to do it as well. And this is the problem, is that some goals are not actually ours. They're just borrowed. So this creates frustration, disappointment, and the feeling that actually you're not enough. You're not enough. Something is wrong with you because you're applying that ready-made formula. You have all the tips, you have all the knowledge, and it's still not working. The next thing that I find interesting with self-help books is that because you read them, you feel a little bit more knowledgeable, and somehow it creates this feeling of superiority. Like you feel superior to other people because you have all that knowledge. Or it has the opposite effect that you start feeling sorry for people who have not read the books and the concept that you've read. You start feeling that you're in the light and they're in the shadow, and that you got it all nailed down, that you got it all figured out, when in fact, we know that's not the case. I have like family members who never actually read self-help books, and whenever I told them about the books that I've read, they were like, okay, good. And I didn't like actually their reaction back then, but now I understand. I understand why they were saying what they were saying, and I'll tell you later why. The next thing that happened to me with self-help books is that I realized I was consuming more books than I was actually creating or producing. So every time there was like a new book, I would just run and buy it, or buy it on Audible and listen to it. Sometimes like I would read all of it, sometimes only a few pages out of it, and then put it in the shelves. In the end, I was reading books that I never actually gave enough thought or enough time to practice. Like I was reading, consuming, and that was it. I didn't allow enough time to practice and apply the teachings. And that created a feeling that I was more participating in growing the self-help industry rather than helping my own life. Okay, so what I did instead of reading self-help books. You may have guessed, I stopped buying audio and print self-help books. At some point, I realized I had, all the keys. I knew enough to actually run my life, and that I needed to stop reading to finally apply the teachings. And when I stopped buying those books, I started becoming less frustrated, sabotaging less myself, and also I started becoming more playful. And I talked about the importance of playing for adults in one of my last videos. Definitely check it out if you haven't done so. So yeah, becoming more playful, happier, grateful about what you already achieved in life. And what I started reading instead was fiction books. And in the past, I used to think that fiction books were like a waste of time. Like I didn't have time to like hear about XYZ story. But I realized that in some novels, you can learn a lot. Like there's an aspect of self-help advice there that you can learn by yourself. Like it's your interpretation of the book, and you can interpret it the way you want. So it's not somebody telling you this is the path to take, but rather you understand from the characters, from the story, that this is the path to take. I never realized I could learn so much from novels. And what I also did is that I signed up to print magazines. So I receive like a scientific magazine at home every month, and the Time magazine as well. So that's actually give me a different perspective, from like the self-help junk books. And currently I'm reading The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini. It's just a wonderful book. I mean, I don't know why I haven't read it before. It's the story of a little boy growing up in Afghanistan who later in life moved to the US. And at some point he had to go back to Afghanistan to deal with the situation he inherited and also some of his past. So it's a very passionate book, novel, that I highly recommend you guys. You will feel like you're traveling in time, and it's just a wonderful feeling. And the other thing that I did, which you may have noticed probably from my videos on my channel, is that I really got into the letting go philosophy. Letting go come from like Buddhism, Hinduism, and ancient traditions, but I actually learned it from my friend John Perkins in his book, The Power of Letting Go, and I actually have a video with him. Check it out if you're interested. And after that, I read the book The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, and that was it. Like, okay, I was like, I don't need any more self-help book. This is it. So this concept helped me become less attached to possessions, to ideas, to ideologies, and to even to people, and just being in the moment, appreciating the moment. This creates less pain and less suffering in our lives, and it feels really good. Again, this isn't to say that you stop having goals. The idea is that you have goals, you give it all that you can, but without being so attached to the end result. I feel like this is one of the most powerful concepts I learned in my life, because from a very young age, we learn to get really serious about certain things when in reality, it's just not worth it. The next thing I did is that I went back to journaling. And when I say I went back, is because this is something I used to do even before I got introduced to the self-help industry. I always had this little diary, journal intime, when I was young, and I used to write all the time in it. So I started writing again thanks to The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, where she has like daily activities. So morning pages is an activity that you would do first thing in the morning on empty sheet of paper, blank paper. You would write as long as you want on anything that you want for however long you want. And I did that for a while until I realized that I actually like writing at night better. It's just like emptying your bag before you go to sleep. So I have my journal, I write there, and a lot of time by writing, I realize that I find my own solutions to my problems. So in a way, it's actually like therapy. So there's like this saying, I can't remember who said it, but it's something like, you already know what you need to know, or all the answers are already within you. And I feel this is so true. Listening more to yourself, listening to who you are, listening to that inner voice is actually the most precious thing, and that can enlighten your self-help growth, your personal growth, and you only need to listen and be attentive to that little voice. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still ask for advice from more experienced people. You can still ask for tips or hacks or whatever. But at the end of the day, your personal growth is your personal journey. There is no race. You are growing at the pace you should be. There are so many instances of projects that I've undertaken which have not succeeded. And I'm like, why are they not working out for me? Because other people came after me and they just learned this thing and they did it and it worked out for them. Well, again, this is what's killing our society, is that we're comparing one another in a bad way. I think now I should be like celebrating their success and trying to learn from my own mistakes and what they did well. But at the end of the day, what I realized that sometimes even when I have the knowledge, even when I have the determination and all the skills, some project just never gonna work out for me. It is, I don't know what you can call it, destiny, fate, but they just don't work out for me now. And I've seen other projects after a long time, they started working. So yes, maybe it's a question of timing. It's a question of being ready. It's a question of being perceptive to know when is the right opportunity. So it's a mix of all that no self-help book will ever teach you. You have to live your life. You have to make mistakes. You will learn from your mistake. You will grow as you learn. And your path is going to be different from mine, and mine is going to be different from other people's. And we all need to accept that nothing's going to be perfect 100%. In fact, it's never perfect 100%. So at the end of the day, there is no ready-made formula that's going to work for everybody. It doesn't work out that way. Even I have students of mine, they all get the same degree and the same classes, the same teachers, the same homework, the same exams. But at the end of the day, they're not going to get the same job or the same salary. So if there's anything that I learned really from this experience is that I was silly beating myself up, sabotaging myself because I wasn't achieving the goals that I set myself to, that probably were not even my own goal, because as I explained earlier, a lot of goals that we have, they're borrowed from what we see in society. And if you don't understand this point, just think if you were born in in the Amazon forest, what sort of objectives and goals would you have if you were living there? See, so you're impacted by your environment. You're impacted by the people that you're surrounded with. So in a way, we are very much influenced by what we see and where we live. And going back to that inner voice actually sort of reframes everything and let us be really who we are and help us unleash that real potential that we have so that we can always stay true to who we really are. I feel like we are our worst enemy. We can sabotage ourselves. We can be a huge impediment to our growth. So just accept that nothing's gonna go your way 100%. If everything goes your way, then, the rest of the world, what is going to happen to them? So there are some projects where we're going to succeed, some other we're going to fail, but that's called the game of life. And you have to definitely take care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself mentally and physically, nothing's going to be brought to life into this world in a healthy and sustainable manner. Alright guys, I hope this video is going to be helpful. Let me know down in the comments below. And I invite you to check out my next video, The Power of Letting Go with John Perkins. You will learn a ton about this philosophy where it's going to just bring you more happiness, more joy, and balance into your life while succeeding faster. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.